Hello and welcome to a brand new Five Heart Podcast brought to you by CornNation.com. Part of the SB Nation Podcast Network. Merchandise available at cobbycorn.com. Make sure you follow on all the social medias at CornNation, at the number 5 Heart Podcast on Twitter. I'm Greg Mahochko, and joining me, he is the dashing and debonair founder, fearless leader of CornNation.com, Mr. John Dam Johnston. Hello, John.
Dashing and debonair.
Yeah, man, I'm a good bullshit artist, too.
Oh, my hair's up. That's it. I'm not real debonair right now. Hi, Chris.
I'm going to start calling you GQ.
Oh, don't do that.
All right. Would you prefer Men's Health? If you had to pick a nickname that was also the title of a magazine, what would it be?
What the hell?
Fun.
People don't even buy magazines anymore, Greg.
John, don't show your age.
Boy's Life John. We should move on now. I have an interesting tidbit to open with, you son of a bitch.
Well, hold on. Chris says that you're one sexy son of a gun.
Well, thank you, Chris.
And I concur.
Okay. Okay, I've been playing see what you did? I've been playing God of War Ragnarok.
Yes, sir, you have.
And I have had to put it down to the grace level, which is less combat-y, because I am slow and old, and it is very fast. And I'm still having problems with it. And I told my wife, I still can't beat the bosses in this game on grace mode. And she looks at me with a preschool teacher voice and says, "You can do hard things." And I just, wow. That's the support I get. It's good.
I also picked up a video game for the first time in many years. So I was not on last week's show. I know you covered for me in Grace and really did a great job. But I don't know how much we have one of the almost 2-year-old twins is going through a little rough patch. He's continuing to cut teeth. He's got most of them, but he's getting some molars, so he's pretty uncomfortable. He's quiet tonight, knock on wood. But so I wasn't here last week to tell you, but my wife and I got our oldest a Nintendo Switch for Christmas.
Oh, wow.
And he's big into Pokemon, so we got him a Pokemon game. But Santa Claus, in his infinite wisdom, got a second controller and got Mario Kart 8. So I've been playing Mario Kart, and let me tell you, I'm just as good now at age 40 at Mario Kart as I was 25 plus years ago. So taking all comers. Bring it on.
I didn't play a lot of those. I like to play games where I get to kill things. That's pretty much my exclusive game thing.
They don't have those types of games on Nintendo Switch.
No, they don't. I would play my God, my brain just have NCAA football.
Mm-hmm.
I played Madden a little bit, but I don't know. It's just I don't enjoy Madden that much. And I'm looking forward to EA Sports coming out with NCAA football. I should pay attention. Right now, Iowa is getting destroyed by Indiana in basketball, and watching I can have tweeting is what I use. I used to use TweetDeck. I can have tweeting up, and I can have different lists and blocks, and watching the reactions between Iowa and the Indiana Twitter. It's marvelous. I talk about Twitter too much, but it is marvelous. It's just plus I love to see Iowa weep, and our guy that runs the Crimson Quarry SB Nation site Indiana Twitter account is really just kind of weird, or gal. I don't know if it's a gal. I mean, they're kind of just bizarre. So there you go.
Well, Fred says that Madden football has been roughly the same since 2001, and in my best/worst Charles Barkley impersonation, I'm going to say terrible. Terrible, just terrible says Doom is great.
See, Doom is it's too fast for me again. I'm getting to be where not that kind of game. Call of Duty is like Madden. Call of Duty is like the same game sold every year. I mean, they're just I don't know why people buy them every year. Call of Duty I can do reasonably at because I just tend to pick up guns with shit tons of bullets and just try to draw as much attention when I'm on a team and get killed, and I don't care. And we should probably move on to Nebraska football. There's stuff happening. There is.
I don't know. We're getting video game related comments, and Casey reminds us that there is a new NCAA football video game heading down the pipe, so that should be fun.
It's been delayed a year.
Well, but we'll get it eventually. At least it's been announced. It's not in the perpetual limbo or we thought that it was just kind of gone forever. But NIL brought it back.
Well, yeah. I am really distracted. I'm sorry, Greg.
Beetle B wants you to play The Long Dark.
I don't know what that is.
I'm going to look it up right now.
Oh, my God.
It's a survival game.
I like playing Division II way too much, and I should throw it away. But there are so many different guns and so many different things in that.
The Long Dark is a first-person survival video game developed and published by Hinterland Studios. The player assumes the role of crash-landed bush pilot Will Mackenzie, who must survive the frigid Canadian wilderness after a geomagnetic storm.
I'll look into it.
What gaming platform do you have?
PS4.
Okay, it's available on PS4 as well as Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, etc. So, Beetle B, thanks for that one.
Did you see the big news today? At least I thought it was big news.
I've been working all day, John.
Damar Hamlin, there was news about Damar Hamlin that he came out of his coma and he's intubated, so he can't speak, but he wrote on a piece of paper, "Did we win?" And the doctors replied to him something like, "You won at the game of life," which, honest to God, I don't mean to be not sensitive to this, but if the NFL could write a better script, well, they couldn't write a better script. That's it. I mean, the honest to God truth is, and this is just after I did a video where I said people don't wake up out of comas and ask if they won the game. So it's kind of funny. I mean, if he woke up and he's that cognizant of what he was going on and what he's doing, then that's a really good sign that he's going to be able to have a life after this. People are like, can he play football again? You know what? Just have him have a life and then worry about football way after that.
I'm in agreement as well. Right now, as we're recording this, it's been about 72 hours, give or take, from post-injury or post-incident or medical episode. I don't know, but since Monday Night Football, when the game was suspended, to come out with that wherewithal, to I've never been in a coma. Thank God, but I don't think that's. I got knocked out once, knocked unconscious. 8th grade basketball practice, and I was only out like 45 seconds to a minute. But when I woke up, I had no idea what was going on. It was just the whole team was looking down over me like, did he die? And I got, like, it was a freak situation. I'm apologize for the people. Like, I'm not athletic. I never was. We were running drills up and down the court, and the star of the team, we were going up for a rebound, and he turned around and he punched me right in the chest, like right in my solar plexus, and just took all the air out of me. And I'm supposed to be running down the court, and I get like 2/3 of the way there. I'm 10 or 15 feet from my coach, and I just straight back like a plank of wood. And then I woke up, but he's like, getting more of the story from him. He's like, I thought you elbowed me in the head on the rebound. I said, I couldn't jump that high. I don't know, maybe he just had it in for me that day. But yeah, when I woke up, I had no idea what was going on. So for, DeMar to come out and ask that question, or, write down that question, at least, you hope that his mental faculties are, and they seem to be, not impaired.
Well, if he could remember that. Here 4 examples of what I was told what happened when I came out of my coma that was induced, like his. They said I woke up every 30 minutes, and every 30 minutes I would wake up, and one time I glared at my daughter because I didn't know who she was. One time I thought my granddaughter was my daughter. I know that they asked me what month it was. I didn't know what month it was. They asked me where I thought I was, and one time I said I thought I was in a recording studio or a radio studio, and I'm guessing that's because of all the machines and everything around me. So, and then the one, I guess the weirdest thing for me is this. I died on a Friday, right? Coma. I think I came out of a coma, I want to say Sunday night. Keep in mind I don't remember any of this. That Tuesday, my wife said I was in a really bad mood, and I took all of my clothes off, got out of bed, and insisted I was going home and leaving the hospital because I was bored. Now, and she had to go get a nurse and force me to get back in bed and put all the machines back on me and all that because I tore everything off. And that's just a bizarre behavior. I don't remember any of this, but that's what she tells me I did. What's odd to me about that is I remember I couldn't even get out of bed, so how I took my clothes off, So anyway, all right. But I thought that was the biggest news for today. There's other news for Nebraska.
Well, we do have some comments about the situation. Husker Corner says the DeMar Hamlin situation is a stark reminder of how dangerous football really is. Super glad to hear he is doing better. Beetle B said, do you think they should have cut away? It was disturbing. It's because I've been. I know you were doing the show. I've been in the broadcast booth. I've been now again, not on a Monday Night Football, NFL, national stage or anything like that, and not televised. It was, small radio. But when there's an injury, and I've been. I was that one guy got pretty well, concussed, and he was down for a while. You go to commercial break, and it's 30 seconds, 60 seconds, you come back, you give an update on the situation. Of course, it's audio. There's no video to, there's no, you're not seeing emergency personnel or anything like that on because it's the radio. But you give a little update, and then you say, all right, we're going to take another time out. You just hope that whoever's back at the studios paying attention. Again, small town radio is different from a national ESPN televised broadcast of the highest level of the sport. But yeah, it's tough because they have certain commitments. They could have showed sidelines. I mean, I don't have a good answer.
They didn't know what to do. They don't know what to do. They didn't know what to do. I mean, they were going to give them 5 minutes and continue the game. I mean, honest to God, let's be honest about the NFL. The NFL, if the NFL owners were completely in charge of everything like they 90% are, they would have taken his body, thrown it over the side, probably put him in a bag and said, everybody gets 3 minutes to take a break and we're playing football again. Because the NFL does not give a single shit about any one of these people. So it just, I like watching the NFL, but let's be honest about what we're watching. It is kind of carnage. When people say, they shouldn't be being paid that much money, well, we're paying them to kill themselves, basically, for our entertainment. So I think that requires a fairly high salary. But let's see. The guys, other people have brought up
also,
I
want to say this: but the lifespan for a professional football player, the working years, so to speak, is significantly less than the average lawyer, teacher, mail carrier, etc. Now, Could they balance the scales a little bit? Do I think that teachers are grossly underpaid? Yes. I do. But at the same time, like, millions of people aren't watching them do their job. I don't know. Right. There's no right answer. And while I don't blame, I blame the agents as much as anything, because they're out trying to get as much for their clients so that they can make their 20%. The first monster contract that I really remember hearing, of course, I don't know if you know this or not, John, I'm considerably younger than you are. But the first
not
monster
in spirit.
contract. No, definitely not. And not in aches and pains. I'm way up there in aches and pains. But like the first one that I really remember is A-Rod's contract with the Texas Rangers. And I'm sure that there were big money contracts before that, but that seemed to really bump it up a notch. And so I feel like everybody's playing keep it up with the Joneses ever since. So a couple of long ones here. We'll start with Aaron Rostovsky, another Corn Nation contributor, says the NFL was not pounding on the table demanding the players get back out there. The referees were following protocol on an unprecedented situation. He does not understand the hatred towards the NFL here. And meanwhile, Cornhusker Corner says, absolutely, John, we are paying them to kill themselves. This is why I don't have a morality issue with NIL. It's the same thing, but with college kids. Only problem with NIL is how it is set up right now. So a little on from both ends of the conversation.
Addressing the hatred of the NFL thing, let's keep in mind that this is a conglomerate that was sued because of CTE brain issues and literally had a racial component in their lawsuit that said black people have less cognitive function and therefore they weren't going to pay them as much. That's the kind of league, that's the kind of conglomerate corporations that we're following, that we're paying attention to, that are entertaining us. And then you got that guy from the Washington Redskins Commanders, that guy should have been removed as an owner. But nobody's going to remove him as an owner, because if they did, somebody would go, oh gosh, I guess they could remove the rest of us because it set a precedent. We don't want that. I like the NFL. I like the players in the NFL. I like watching the NFL, but I'm not going to kid myself for a moment that they're anything but just maybe not as badly hated as Comcast. But if you took all the entertainment out of it, I mean, it's just a terrifyingly bad controlling corporation. I just like most large corporations are just not, they're not really known for their human value components unless they fake it really well.
Shadden, Nebraska's very own Matt Hansen had this abolish targeting and go back to leather helmets. And it makes me wonder, with all the advancements in the pads and helmets and everything else, are we in a false sense of security? Like, that's all right, I've got this big piece of plastic and padding on my head, so it doesn't matter if I launch myself like a bullet at this other guy. Is there that type of mentality, not just in the NFL level, but prevalent through the entire sport?
I think the problem with sports in general is, with regards to stuff like CTE and more injuries and stuff like that, is everybody's bigger and they're stronger and they're faster. Was it physics? Momentum is mass times velocity. Okay?
I'm going to fact check that.
Mass
Keep
times
talking.
Velocity, two things that have gotten much bigger, much higher, better in pro athletics especially, and them mashing into another guy that's going faster. I mean, you're just going to have more injuries.
P equals MV. Momentum equals mass times velocity.
Yeah.
Well, John, how did you know that? I didn't know that. I never thought of you as like the physics guy. I thought of you as the physical guy.
Oh my God! I have a physics minor. I studied
nice.
nuclear physics. Nuclear Physics 213 at Nebraska. Everybody knows that course.
Wow. Hey, folks, I'm learning just as much as you're learning right now about our fearless leader. So what else happened? Let's shift gears a little bit.
What else happened? Well, tonight, who is our new coach? Is it Omer Hales or Omer Hallis? He's an analyst. He tweeted something like exploding thing, and you're led to believe that they got another guy. They got another transfer, or they got another something happened today. Now, on the other hand, Baylor guard transfer Micah Mezcua is, I think, visited today. And then we got Walter Rouse coming in, who I believe is a Stanford, both offensive linemen. So if you say, can they block? Yes, they have actually experience blocking. But let's think about these guys. I want you to think about this for a minute. Think about these guys. Micah is 6'5" and 340 pounds. Walter
6'5". Did you say 6'5", 340?
Yeah.
I mean, that's 3 inches taller than me, but significantly heavier. So
Walter Rouse is 6'6" and 320. I believe Ben Scott is a really huge guy. So it looks like their recruiting is like, I don't know, you have to be 300 pounds or more, because one of the players, the guy from South Dakota that we recruited this year was like 6'4" and 320 coming in as a true freshman. So there you go. Let's see. Kenny Wilhite was you don't say fired anymore. Let go. They've
future endeavored.
Another direction. Yeah, he is no longer with the program, the athletic program, the athletic department. But let's see. He was the Nebraska high school liaison and walk-on guy. I don't know if he was for all high schools, like all high schools they were liaisoning with Nebraska and otherwise. But I know I should be like more gracious to Kenny because he was a Nebraska guy, but the walk-ons in the whole high school, if it was high school, we weren't exactly kicking ass in that realm. So I don't know if it's a big loss. I wish the best for him, but yes.
Can we talk about? I don't know if you saw this, but Nebraska made an offer to a quarterback. Apparently tonight. Yeah. In fact, I know for a fact you saw this. Yeah. He is the number one quarterback in the nation in the 2027 class, which means in 2023, if all goes well, and it should, he's got a 4.3 GPA, but if all goes well, he will graduate from junior high.
That's just weird.
Trent
it's
Seaborn.
Weird because he tagged us on Twitter, and he follows us on Twitter. And the idea that in 8th grade, I don't care if he's a quarterback, following us on Twitter is just more like, ugh.
I mean, we're a pretty salty bunch. I don't know. We're TV 14 or TVMA for sure. He's, according to his own measurables on his own Twitter, which may or may not be doctored in any way, this 8th grader is 6 foot, 170 pounds. He's an all-county honorable mention and a state champ. Hey, wait. Can I just figure that one out for a second?
What?
How are you going to be the number one quarterback in the nation if you're not the number one quarterback in your county? Like, wouldn't there be like all-county honorable mention? Wouldn't that mean that like there's a first-team quarterback?
Well, there's probably different ratings. Like maybe two different people pointed at two different guys and said, "You're number one in my book," and that's how it happened.
So it's the 1997 national championship all over again?
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yes, Joel Tilson, 2027, really. I mean, he's an 8th grader. They offered him. That happens, I guess, if you're...
Is that the first Nebraska junior high offer?
I don't think so.
Oh.
I want to say that there was other news.
Okay. I'm sorry. Continue with the news.
Texas A&M hired Bobby Petrino to be their offensive coordinator. Bobby Petrino wrecked the motorcycle with the girl you shouldn't be having an affair with. Bobby Petrino. Bobby Petrino fired because he lied to his athletic director, not because he did bad things. Bobby Petrino, who honestly is a really good offensive coach, but everywhere he goes, he leaves the program in complete shambles because he didn't care about defense at all. So I think Bobby Petrino's ego, along with Jimbo Fisher's ego at Texas A&M. I mean, when you look at college football, let's face it. Sometimes it's a sports opera for men, right? I mean, it really is kind of like, we're about the drama and the relationships. We complain about it, but what would we do without it?
How honestly, you've got Petrino, you got Fisher. How long do you think that lasts?
That's just it. I mean, they lost 27 players to the transfer portal. Excuse me, and they like his buyout. Fisher's buyout is like 97 million.
It's ridiculous.
The oil guys probably did that back when they were just like oil everywhere and oil all over the place. And now, now things aren't that good. They're going to have to pay the guy to get rid of him because, I mean, he's not going to be successful. Let's face it.
Are you enjoying opening up your Werther's original over there?
Yeah, I am.
Was it a Werther's?
No, it's like a cough drop.
I'll say you're over there playing. We can all hear you opening up the wrapper, John.
Can you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I could hear it.
I should put a fuzzy thing on this mic.
Yeah.
A dead cat. You know what I mean?
A dead cat. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I got a windscreen on mine. While we're talking about junior high Nebraska offers, Josh Hansen says coming up next signing day, all three of my sons sign up to play defensive line. I don't see that. I think one of them could potentially be built like a defensive lineman. And that's the one who was fussing last week and kept me from the show. So,
wait, we went past something. Okay, James Marshall says Fisher has a natty. I would count him out down there. It's probably true. And I mean, Bobby Petrino is a very, very good offensive coordinator. But at the same time, those two egos getting together, and I think the problem with Fisher is, he hasn't updated his offense in a very long time, and things evolve and things change and people figure out what you're doing, and I'd just be interesting to watch what happens. Mostly because, if you drive by an accident on the road, you always look.
That's true.
It's not my car. It's not me, so, better than me kind of thing.
Realistically, I mean, it sounds like the wreck that we've had the last 20 years in Lincoln. Everybody just, slows down and watches. Nobody's jumping out to offer assistance.
Well, the problem with that is if you noticed after they fired that guy, the mention of Nebraska in national anything went completely, it stopped existing. So people a long time said, well, we're irrelevant. We're not irrelevant, we're just bad. People were always talking about us. But last year, one of the things that I noticed anyway was that mid-season, nobody was talking about us unless we were like an afterthought, or we showed up on a Big Ten standings thing. Every once in a while they'd say, unless you were obviously watching the Nebraska games, but on the national perspective, we completely disappeared. And that's kind of dangerous because we don't want that to go on too long.
We're just flying under the radar. We'll be back. So,
we'll be back? Oh, I thought you were taking... We have a commercial? What the hell?
No. I want to piggyback off of something that you and Todd got into. You touched a little bit on it this past Monday in your Monday Night Therapy. And it's about the college football semifinals that were this past weekend, where Ohio State almost beat but eventually lost to Georgia, and then Michigan. Say what you want about, targeting or not targeting, touchdown or not touchdown. They lost to TCU. And it was weird because I found some Facebook posts on, I think, College Game Day or something like that. And for the first time ever in my life, I have seen Ohio State fans be sympathetic towards Michigan. And it's like, I'm an Ohio State fan, but that was a touchdown, or that should have been a targeting call, things like that. Michigan got screwed. I'm like, well, that's not the Ohio State that I know. And it brings me to the topic that I had in mind from Tuesday that, it was before I saw these. There's this us against the world mentality in the SEC, right? If it's not Georgia, with maybe an exception or two, I know Florida and Georgia hate each other, and Auburn and Alabama hate each other, and they probably would rather see anybody other than their number one rival, succeed. But there's that regional mentality of SEC, whenever there's success. And we don't have that in the Big Ten. And I say we because Nebraska's been in here in this conference for over a decade now, so we're part of it. I feel like we're all out hatred.
Yeah.
And because of that.
Do you know why?
Why we hate each other, and Todd said it perfectly. He says, I will never in my life root for Iowa. So if it was Iowa versus Texas in the national championship, that's a nightmare scenario for every Nebraska fan. But I've been in positions with that at the NFL level where it's like, oh, I hate the Ravens, but I hate the Patriots. Let's have a sum of all fears moment. I say that jokingly. I don't really want there to be a nuclear bomb snuck into a vending machine and blow up Baltimore. Tell me why your hatred is strong.
Well, I think in the Big Ten, the Big Ten has spent years with each other, longer than any other conference. I mean, when you go back and look at the history of the conference, they only recent memory can teams start going, oh, I hate them because this happened. I hate them because that happened. The spot wasn't good, blah, blah. But, look at all these traditional trophies that they play for. Those things were all established way back when, and those teams have been ruining each other's lives for decades. So, there's nothing really to pull them all together. I used to think that the South had that whole Civil War mentality, us against the rest, us united against the rest of the nation. Spencer Hall told me once that was it. That was not true. And I think that the Big Ten has had those years and those just beating each other up and ruining each other's lives. The SEC has too, but I don't know.
Josh says, my mom once said seriously that if Colorado played Al-Qaeda, she didn't know who she'd root for. That's some good hatred right there.
If you look at Woody Hayes versus Bo Schembechler, the 10-year war, that's about as that's it. Those teams aren't going to root for each other because they basically their fan bases have been trained not to. I do think maybe the entire Big Ten has got an inferiority complex too. So there you go.
I think that I was the one who created the headline for this week's show. So, yes, for our hatred alone and our ability to not put hatred aside to be able to bring the trophy to the conference, I think that the Big Ten is better than the SEC. Fred's right up there. and Todd's not here to defend himself, but Fred's right in similar thinking. If Texas played Cold War Russia, I'd probably root for the commies. Yeah. Todd, I hope you listen to that and chuckle. Okay. Yes.
Go ahead. I was looking up something real quick.
Well, I'm glad that you're distracted from our live show and all of our live friends.
Well, you were talking about recruiting. I want to say that Nebraska's recruiting class, with the addition of, it's Ethan Cooper and the other guy, Cameron Lenhart, recently had brought the recruiting class up to fourth in the Big Ten.
Ethan Nation?
Ethan Nation, yes.
And Cameron Lenhart, yes, sir. You did. Coach Cooper's isn't it Corey Cooper who's the strength and conditioning coach?
So, yeah. And then you know what? I'm going to have to literally sit down and memorize all these names.
You're going to
have they hired gobs of them.
But here's the thing. Cooper's going to be the one coach who will make sure you don't forget his name.
Composite rank 25. So, and that's without the two new guys. So that's pretty good for Matt Rhule's first year. You know, bringing in the guys he's getting and getting the transfer guys, and we're not done yet.
Is he? This is a ridiculous question. I can't believe I'm going to ask. Is he peaking too soon?
You need more sleep.
I do. No, because as we all know, we've been saying this. We've said it on the show. Todd, Haas, everybody in the comments. We all know success. You start winning games, start winning meaningful games. Then the recruits are going to take notice. I was a stunning statistic or tweet that was shared in the Slack chat room that said that Matt Rhule and his staff have got commitments from four-star defensive linemen.
Right.
I don't think about that.
Pretty good. Yeah.
I mean that's astounding, and that's where that's a position group I feel needs assistance. Offensive line, defensive line. They have athletes, but they could probably use a bump in talent. I don't hope I don't offend anybody. Listen to that. Look, when the Polar Bear signed and we heard what he could do and we saw the weight room videos, Nash Hutmacher, I was as excited as anybody else. But for whatever reason, that has, be it lack of opportunity or what, that hasn't yet translated onto the field. Now, I hope he continues to develop and excel, and maybe the new weight room regimen will help everybody not just lift heavy or whatever Zach Duvall was after, but Haas always used to use the phrase functional weight, right? Being able to, because you can look like a brick shit house, but you're probably also going to move like a brick shit house, So hopefully, lighter weights, more rep. I look. One look at me in person. That's not the bust picture here that everybody sees. They'll know I don't go to the gym. So I don't know the best workout nutrition program, obviously, but the staff of coaches that Matt Rhule's put together, I think, going to put these players in a much favorable position to succeed. I believe that. Yeah.
You mentioned nutrition, and come on, I pinned one of these. Oh, it's Blaine Cole from Japan. Nowadays, Blaine Cole says, nowadays, how important is nutrition and how do coaching staffs incorporate into training? It's extremely important. Nebraska just let go of Dave Ellis, I think it was, and he was around for the Osborne years. But one of the things, when people ask about nutrition, one of the things I remember reading is, Brandon Vogel and John Cook's book, about his championship, and reading that book and how they had an athlete, a young woman who kept having like stress fractures in her feet, and they determined that she was getting these stress fractures because she'd never eaten a green vegetable in life. And for them to determine that level of nutritional, they had to figure out what's going on with the human body and get your peak performance out of it. I think they incorporated it into training. From my understanding, every person, pretty much every one of them gets like their kind of a layout or a personal diet or a personal plan that they're supposed to follow.
Right.
I mean, keep in mind they have the Nebraska Performance Lab there too that measures all this stuff, and we never hear anything about them. And that I wish we heard more about them, but I don't know.
We got a couple of really good comments here, John. That I'm glad you pinned them. I was going to if you did not. Matt says lose some defensive backs and keep going after linemen, but right after that. Fred says, I don't know if I like Rule's recruiting plan with all these offensive and defensive linemen. I like to see at least a dozen wide receivers and running backs like we're used to.
Well, keep in mind
it's unnatural,
Keep in mind on defense, we're going to run a 3-5-5, so we're going to lean to a lot of defensive backs and a lot of edge guys because, the edge guys need to be like hybrid type guys that are going to be the part of the 3 or the 5, depending upon who we're playing and what they want to do or the situation.
I think Fred was being sarcastic.
I know. But that Matt Hansen guy probably wasn't.
Oh, well, you take that with Matt, don't you? There's got to be a side conversation about, stars in recruiting. Like, look, we're not the 5-star podcast. If you think we're worthy of a 5-star, then you go to your podcast app and you leave us a 5-star rating and a review. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube if you like what we're doing. Specifically, John, if you like John, give us a thumbs up. If you don't like me, give John a thumbs up. But Brian says only 36. Go ahead, John. No, go ahead, John.
You need to hit the like button on the video, on the stream if you're on YouTube, please. So more people will see us and find us.
And that's John asking. He said, please, remember, he died once for you. He came back, and it didn't take him 3 days. I'm just putting that out there. All right, I apologize for that. Brian says only 36 5-stars nationwide in the 24/7 ratings in 2023. Don't think they are beating down doors of programs that can't get bowl eligible for 6 years. You have to find and develop, who you can. I don't disagree with that assessment, Brian. I really don't. But I feel like wasn't Coach Prime getting 5-star guys at Jackson State, at Colorado? I mean, it's not solely about on the field production. A lot of it's, let's be realistic, and I'm painting with broad strokes here, and I apologize, but I think a lot of it is what can you do for me now? And I hope that doesn't cast a negative opinion on the young people of America. Matt's going to find you, apparently. Cornhusker Corner says, a bit weary of the new wide receiver coach. 23 is young as hell, but maybe he'll bring a certain hunger to prove himself. It's intriguing. That's one I haven't talked with you about because that was decided upon or however we want to phrase it, since the last time I was on the show. But he is kind of a legacy coach, right? Yeah. Our wide receiver coach. And he played for and coached with Matt Rule already. So.
Oh my God, what's the guy's name? Is it McGuire? I think it's McGuire.
Sure.
But yeah, 23 years old. A lot of people are complaining about him. Doesn't have any experience. You know what's funny about that, Greg? You got all this shit going on in America. what's funny about that is you got all this shit going on in America where they're like, oh, we need workers and we need people to work. We need help and we don't have enough. We can't get enough people to do shit. And you know what? They don't talk about the young and they don't talk about the old. So fuck these people that are constantly like, we can't get good workers. They're not hiring very young people and they're not hiring very old people. So when you look at this in coaching, I'm spitting all over myself again, for God's sakes. If you look at this in coaching, it's the same thing. You know, if some guy's too old, unless his name's Nick Saban, it's like, oh, he's too old to coach. Why'd they hire him? He's going to be gone in 3 years. And then they hire a young guy. He doesn't have any experience. He doesn't even know what he's doing. Does he need to be burped after every meal? Yeah, I just find it bizarre. And, you know, you're right. The guy is a legacy coach. His father was a coach and he grew up around coaching. And I don't know. You know, it's like Donovan Raiola. If Matt Rule decided that he had enough faith in this guy to hire him as a position coach, I'm going to trust Matt Rule's judgment because Matt Rule has been around for a while.
I'm gonna take it a different way. 'Cause I don't disagree with you, but I'm going to quote stand-up comedian Rodney Carrington, where he talks about credit. I'm talking about work experience. And what he says is you can't get credit if you don't have credit. How the fuck are you supposed to get credit?
Right.
How are you supposed to get experience unless you get experience, you know? We'll find out. Hey, 23, maybe he's going to bring a new perspective. You know, maybe he's going to be like, this worked 6 years ago in high school. You know, I don't know.
Hey, you know what? Maybe when the guys go out to their parties, he's going to go with them.
There you go. Chaperone. That looks like one of them.
Ew.
All right. I got 3 comments that I pinned here about 5-star recruits. Okay. The first one that I'm highlighting is Lance, who said that, yeah, Prime did get 5-star at Jackson State, which I speculated. Then we have Brian, who says you can offer, but to expect multiple 5-star recruits is unrealistic. Again, I don't disagree, but perhaps the most insightful of the 5-star comments, which could be a compliment to all the guys, is Blaine Cole. He says, does it matter if you're a 5-star recruit but don't fit into the scheme? That's the butter on the bread right there, man. That's it in a nutshell. Perhaps the comment of the night.
I think if you're a 5-star quarterback, they're probably going to change some of what they're doing for your skills.
And that's
if you're a 5-star kicker, like the 5-star kicker we got, what do you want to do? He fits in. He can kick. There you go, Blaine.
but I also think that you know the other side of that coin is, like you said, John. If you got a 5-star recruit, you're going to maybe it's scheming for the players you have, not the players you want. And I feel like Matt Rule's going to be a lot more forward thinking with that than our previous HC, who at times just tried to shoehorn something. And that's when he showed up on time. But I digress. Fred had a question about strength and conditioning. He says, do we know what the new SNC coach's philosophy is? Is it the functional strength like Boyd coached to, or is it that stupid Olympic weight training stuff like we've had off and on for years now? From what I understand, I don't think it's the Olympic. I don't think it's like max weight, max, PRs all the time. I think it's more functional, is it not? From what you've heard, John?
Yes. I mean, you can't have the same thing you've already had. Everybody knew that was bad. I did put that down as a future topic. It says right over here on this screen, future topic, S&C coach philosophy, along with nutrition and training.
I like it, John.
I'm not so sure people would be that interested in nutrition and training, would they?
John, you know what I just found?
What'd you find?
You know what this is?
Is that your betting sheet for
The
the NFL?
No, this is far worse and much less successful. This is our beginning of the year season predictions 2022. If you see the column closest to my hand here where it says Greg, and it had us going, I think it had us how to go 12-0. I wonder how long I can keep. Should I? Does anybody want this? Does anybody want this autographed?
Yes, I want a photo of it.
I'll send it to you, John. I have your address.
Yeah. Just okay.
I'll autograph it, send it to John. I'll put a little love note on the back. Be like, of the way we were. I don't know.
Oh, here.
Oh, yes.
There you go. I'm going to have to get a haircut sometime.
No, you won't. Because this was Blaine's suggestion. He says, let free your flowing trusses and the female demographic will follow. It's all about the viewership.
It is all about the viewership. Or are you guys commenting anyway? I mean, it is fun being here with you.
It is. Like I've said before.
Yes?
Thanks, Fred. I don't have a lighter here. It's probably not safe to do it in this vicinity without a place to put it safely. But John wants it. John wants the
yes,
reminder.
I do.
God bless you.
I just want a photo of it.
If I got you a photo, do you think you could put this on a shirt?
No.
Like Greg's Epic Mistakes shirt?
Well, I might be able to. Give me a photo. We'll see what happens.
I will. Todd got closest, by the way. He said we'd go 6-6.
Oh, I bet
everybody.
What are you asking? Oh, last year. What did I say?
Right.
I said 9-3, didn't we?
You said 7-5. You and Hoss both said 7-5.
Even then, good God, that would have been. Oh, let's go on to the future.
All right. I saw a comment in here about Nebraska ball.
Yeah.
That's all.
I think somebody asked opinions on it. You know, the other night I did say that they would go to a postseason tournament. I still have hopes for that. They went to Michigan State, and they got their asses kicked. Quite frankly, I don't think anybody played well. Nobody shot the ball well. I mean, I think they played decent defense, but I didn't really watch very much of that game. I watched actually very little of it. Here's the thing. This happens to teams in the Big Ten. It happens to everybody in the Big Ten. Michigan State has like an 86 or an 85 home game winning percentage. So going to Michigan State and playing well is extremely difficult on its own. So I think we're still looking like a better team. Willem Breidenbach is coming around. We've missed Blaze Keita the past few games. What do they got? They got Minnesota Saturday morning, and Minnesota's terrible. And the problem with Minnesota is Williams Arena is a really great place to watch basketball. I've been there a lot. And if there's a crowd there, it can really overwhelm you. I mean, it completely overwhelm you. It can get so loud, and the building can shake if the crowd starts stomping, which they are wont to do. But Minnesota has been so bad lately that nobody's going to these games. So, I would hope Nebraska, just wins that game picks up something on the road, and we'll just see where they end up at the end of the year. They're certainly much more fun to watch than they've been.
That's true. That's true. And I need to make more time for the men's basketball. You said the next game is Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll do my best. My nephew wants to go bowling on Saturday. Should I go?
Yeah.
I think so.
How old's your nephew?
He's 14.
Then yes, you should go.
I think so too. He joined the bowling team at his school.
Get
apparently.
A glimpse of. You could get. Wait a minute. He joined the bowling team. Is he a good bowler?
No, he because he's not doing any other sports. And they played his last year of football. Like, he's not going to play football in high school. I think that might change. But now he's got his own custom bowling ball and hand, drilled specifically, and my sister's got them all fixed up. So yeah, I think I need to take them bowling.
Yeah, go do it. I would. Then
You want to come with us, John?
Then he'd go home and his mother would call me and say, my son has never said these words before. To which I would respond, it's about fucking time.
He has said those words.
Come on.
He has.
He has. He's heard him in all his music. All his friends are saying that shit. Stop being such an idiot. And then
he's a farmer. He's a farmer.
Okay.
He said those words.
It's required when you're beating on a tractor. You're underneath some kind of farm implement.
Beetle B says that Nebraska basketball is less important than bowling at this point. Chris says to do it. And Joel's trying to keep us on topic and asks, will Nebraska make March Madness this year? Do you want to take that one?
Oh, I think that's a little bit of a stretch. I would hope for the NIT. I mean, if they can keep their RPI or NET or whatever they're going on now up, high enough, that I think they could get into the NIT. Provided that Walker and Greasel stay healthy and stay in the game.
Right.
We don't have a lot
Tominaga?
of injuries. He has not played well lately, and it's really unfortunate because he's such a joy to watch. You know what? I should announce something. I should get off my ass and just do this. Now that you mentioned this whole thing about going bowling, I am going to go jump in a frozen lake.
Nice. This got on the public record now, folks.
I think it's on January 28th, but where I died was the University of Minnesota, and my colleagues every year jump in a frozen lake. They do the polar plunge to raise money. I think it's for Special Olympics. So I need to sign up with them as part of their team because people on this team actually saved my life. And I owe it to them to jump in freezing cold water. And I'll start getting this out more, and I'm going to commit to it because here's the problem that I have. It's easy for me to sit at home and not wear pants ever. And it's really hard for me to get up and go outside and go out and do things, and you become this agoraphobic, just guy that wants to sit home and become nothing. And I really just need to get out, and I need to commit to this and see whether or not jumping in frozen water is good for me.
You say it's You say it's a fundraiser. Is there a place that people can donate?
Yeah.
Like, will you have a specific page, or the team that you join? Will they have a page?
Yes,
okay. You got to let us know about that.
I will. And now that I've said this, I'm sure that Bill, the team leader on whose floor I died, will look at me and say, you are going to do this year. So
Blaine says that the folks who are on this team who saved your life once already, as you said, he said they may get a chance to save it again. Do some training for that event. Yes, I concur. Fill the bathtub up with ice cold water. Lay in there until your everything is all wrinkly and pruny and shriveled.
Nobody needs that visualization.
Everybody already had that visualization.
Okay, here's the thing. My cardiologist did clear this, and I think I've mentioned this before, that my cardiologist gave me some words to live by, which he's done in the past, but he said there is an inherent risk to life. And, it's no different than getting involved in a minor fender bender. And he said, "Bless, you should be fine after what you've gone through with Nebraska football over the past few years." So
we got this one from Fred. He says, "Good for you, John. Be careful. The mere thought makes my ass pucker like frost at the thought of his wife seeing his phone."
Oh, my God. Well, that is good. That's a good joke.
That's what I said. We did have one football-related question in here a moment ago. I got to find it. First of all, Fearless Phil was replying to James Marshall, who Marshall doubts the 3.35 in the Big Ten. And Fearless Phil says TCU runs a 3.35 and they beat Michigan.
Yeah.
And then, where'd it go? I don't know if I can find it now. Oh, here we go. Right above that. Colin J says, who's going to start a quarterback next year, Thompson or Sims? Early predictions, LOL.
I'll say Casey Thompson. I
was going to say Sims.
And
I'll tell you why.
Quarterback. Go ahead.
I don't disagree. I think Casey Thompson did everything he could last year, again, with the offensive line that was around him. However, he's not going to participate in spring ball.
Right.
And he was not taking anything away from Casey Thompson, who I like, but he was brought in by the previous staff, whereas Sims was brought in by Matt Rule.
Right.
That's why I think they go Sims.
Well, we'll see what happens. You know what they could do is the thing that I recommended all along under Frost is that they have packages for these guys. I like that. I like this idea. I think they both provide different skill sets, and they could do different, just different things on the field.
Beetleby says Thompson. Oh, sorry.
Can we develop an offensive line? I think that's going to be a big part of it because Sims is going to be able to scramble his ass out of danger. Well, there's Joel.
That's what Joel Tilson says, that Thompson will have a much better offensive line. Terrible Just Terrible says Thompson, and also says that Sims would have to improve his decision-making. So there are a few other intangibles.
I think the spring game is in late April, so...
Yeah, because I think Easter's early this year, so I think they try not to do it around Easter. Is Logan Smothers still in the program? That's what Blaine Cole wants to know.
As far as I know, yes. I mean, he's there, yeah.
Chubba Purdy, too.
Yes.
And here's the thing, and good to hear from David Matney living in Omaha. The idea that each one having certain packages, my only, I guess, hesitation for that is after you get it on film, then I think the other teams kind of know what to expect when they see, Chubba or Casey or Sims or whomever trotting out there. Maybe I'm thinking about it the wrong way, but doesn't it, limit what each quarterback can do?
Well, put it this way. If you have, let's say you have a quarterback that has a certain skill set, and, he can learn just a few plays for him that he's very good at. It's kind of like when we looked at Luke McCaffrey and said, my God, this guy could run the option all day long. And he probably could. I thought a few times he did that stuff, he was very good at it. But, by having a package, you're kind of limiting them to that offense. And if people see it on film, they still have to stop it if you execute it well enough. And that's where you really want to be, I think, as an offense. Because, kind of where we were.
Damn it, Blaine. Will Rule be bringing in an arm punting coach? No, won't be necessary.
Could be one of the offensive analysts.
Yeah, I get maybe, but they won't call him the arm punting coach. Husker Corner says Sims will start new offense and spring will give him the upper hand. I can kind of see it going that way. And then there was Colin J says if we get those 2 transfer portal linemen, I'll actually have some confidence this year with our offense, especially when you consider we got Scott from Arizona State. Yeah. And we all know who if you think about it, the state of Nebraska and the state of Arizona made a Scott for Scott trade.
Bada boom, bada bing.
You know what? You could have sold that just a little bit better, John.
I could have. I could have.
Why you always?
I'm right. Not that surprised because you said that the name. I'm just trying to forget and dismiss from my life.
Fine, sorry. All right. Since we are in the new year, and Happy New Year to everybody. Kind of forgot to start the show with that. It's only January 5th, January 6th if you're listening to the podcast. But James Marshall says, I know this is bad. Frost is to coaching what Mickey Joseph is to relationships. That's my takeaway from the past year.
appears to be true.
Oh man, I don't have any witty retort for that one. James, I'm just glad you're the comedian on that one. All right, what else we got, John?
I don't know. The national title game. You know what I was going to say is New Year's for me. The actual New Year doesn't actually start until the title game is over.
That's not how that works.
You know, all those resolutions you make, they don't until January 10th.
So what New Year resolution are you making, John?
Well, I typically don't make resolutions, but I think I just really came to the conclusion that I have to keep working out and I have to keep some level of strength training or fitness level of training in my life, or otherwise it's just I am going to just sit home and turn into a blob and never go anywhere. So that's probably the biggest key for me.
David Matney says, bet the descendants of Bill Jennings are grateful for the era of our, we'll just say of Matt Rule's predecessor.
Yes.
Yeah.
That guy.
That guy.
Fired. They probably are.
Brian says, would be great to get the tackle from Stanford. Don't disagree.
Yeah.
And Josh says that Sims missed 5 or 6 games each of the last 2 years. Casey's never finished the season healthy. We are going to need them both.
That's probably a good point.
So, do you know the answer to this question from Blaine? How many former Huskers in the NFL playoffs?
I don't. We could ask Brian.
Hold on, let me see if I can answer some questions off the top of my head.
You know what? We don't know yet because of that whole they didn't make the game up. Aren't they going to try to expand the NFL playoffs and have more teams in?
I don't know.
This year or something?
Now, let me ask you this: are we talking scout team or actual roster?
Probably. He didn't say.
Or scout team practice squad, because Chiefs have a couple, including DiCaprio Boodle. Eagles have a couple, Cam Jurgens among them. Bengals have a couple, including a former quarterback and head coach. I don't know. I guess that can count. Yeah? Cam Taylor Bridge play. What'd I say?
You said the Bengals. The Bengals.
The Bengals.
Listen out, Bengals. Bengals.
Bengals. Bengals.
Okay, the Green Bay Packers have Samari Toure and Austin Allen, who got signed recently to, I think, the practice squad.
The Buccaneers, of course, we don't have to tell you Levante David. By the way, still the most underrated linebacker in the league, probably the last decade.
Yeah, easily.
Eagles, I've forgotten Ndamukong Suh's over there. Sorry, Sue. Those are the only ones that are really jumping to my mind. I'm probably missing some.
Is Abdullah still out there somewhere? He is.
He is.
He does special team stuff.
I'll tell you what, there's a great article, and it's up every week at Coronation.com, and it's Huskers in the NFL. And I would encourage you to check out that article. And that's all I got.
Iowa now leads Indiana, so Indiana and Iowa Twitter levels of despair has completely swapped stances, and Crimson Quarry, our Indiana site, says this is a home game wherein Indiana has lost a starter and his center piece is clearly not healthy. Please calm down, dude. And he punted that. He tweeted that on our Iowa Blackheart Gold Pants. So it's hilarious. I love Twitter for sports.
Twitter's good for sports, and that's about it.
Yes.
John, it's go home time. Pop needs a nap.
Are you? Oh, okay. I get it.
I also have to do all the post-production stuff.
You do.
Wait. Hold on.
What?
Sam's here. Sam's here. It's pronounced Bengals. 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 Bengals.
I'm going to go have an argument with my son after this. I just want you to know that. TCU
Well, that's all right,
versus... go ahead.
You earlier you said measure. Like that's a word. Yeah, I can hold grudges too, bitch.
I do a lot of that stuff just to drive my kids nuts, like Neil deGrasse Tyson. Tonight for supper we had some leftover quinoa. It really irritates my kids when I do this. But TCU versus Georgia. Should we do a prediction? I think I'm going to try to do just a video on that because I think it's interesting. Okay. What do you think?
Wait, hold on. We're still on this Bengals thing. Bean Gals. Colin J. Bay of Bengal. Bengal.
Bengal.
I still don't think I said it wrong. Cincinnati Bengals.
Now that you're saying, you changed it. You have changed it. You have
all right.
to.
Georgia TCU. Everybody in the comments, let us know what you think. While I would love for TCU to win, I think Georgia's probably going to win by about 14. I'll say.
The line is.
Well, go ahead.
I think the line is like 12.5 or something like that.
That's not bad, honestly. Or then my prediction. I mean, the line, but I'm gonna say something like, like 45-31.
James Marshall has 46-24.
James Marshall does have 46-24. Beetle B just says TCU. Matt Henson says Georgia. We got Joel Tilson's TCU 42-38. I like it. I like the optimism. David says Georgia.
Go ahead.
Georgia 35, TCU 17. That's David Matney living in Omaha.
Here's the thing.
Ralph says Georgia will crush. All these predictions, yes, sir.
Predictions, yeah. We've done this all year. I mean, TCU was supposed to get killed by Michigan. TCU won the Big 12. TCU was supposed to not do any of these things, and yet they've done them. So I think that, that's what makes the national title game so intriguing. Georgia's defensive line is very, very good, and you have to think that TCU, they don't have the level of quarterback and receivers that Ohio State did. So at the same time is, TCU's defense, they run a 3-3-5. Is that going to stand up well with Georgia's offense? I don't think that's a bad mix. So I'm going to say 35-31, probably Georgia, but I think it's going to be a lot closer. And Georgia, just at the end, their lines are just better, I think, than TCU's, and that's where the game's going to come down to.
Colin J says Georgia dominates. I want TCU to win, but don't see it happening. Beetle B says you had made a great point about all things that TCU was not supposed to do. They weren't supposed to make it to the college football championship game, and they did. So there you go, John. A little feather in your cap. We've got Terrible Just Terrible. Say all I know it's going to be high scoring. I have one here. Sam with an oddball question. Oh, I'm not ready for this one. What if Colorado beats TCU and Nebraska beats Minnesota to start out next season? Do you think College Game Day will be in Boulder? No.
Well, I don't know. You know what? Prime time he's a pretty big attraction. So, I mean, them beating TCU after the year TCU has had, I don't care what players are gone. That would be just massive. It all depends on what other games are that day, but it's certainly, you know what? You need to write that down and reference it. That way you'll sound like a genius from now on, Greg. But I mean, that is an interesting proposition. Nebraska, Colorado, old rivals, prime time versus new coach, Ewok-looking Matt Rule. That would be very intriguing. I think as a storyline, and it would have, it would be fun.
All right. I don't know exactly what I was supposed to write down, but I did take a picture of the comment so that we can refer to it 8 months from now.
Plus, it's in Boulder, so Lee Corso could have some gummies and be more entertaining than ever.
I was going to say, and help his glaucoma. Because isn't that what you use those for?
I don't think so.
No? All right, must be. All right. We got a lot of, we're still hitting that onside kick thing. Matt Hansen wonders if there's going to be an onside kick in the game. And then a little below that, again, David Matney coming in. What are the chances Georgia does an onside kick when they go up by 2 scores?
0.5.
Yeah, less than that. And then, that one got accidentally starred, but it needs to be highlighted. Gents, after Husker football, what's your next favorite sport? Mine is Australian rules football.
Hockey is taking over our household more than it ever has.
Right?
I mean, I like hockey. I don't mind it. The NFL, my family watches the NFL together now. I guess we become.
You mean the NHL?
The NFL. We watch the NHL. We don't watch the NHL together. We watch NFL games together sometimes. But I never thought that my family would be this sports oriented, which is kind of interesting. But I'd say my next favorite sport would be probably Nebraska baseball. But I only listen to it on the radio, so it's kind of weird. I don't know. Coordination sucks in so much of my life. After a while, I need to get away from sports so I can have other things going on. So
I know that Nebraska football for me is really the only must-see TV, and I grew up realistically in the shadows of the Gateway Arch. I grew up a St. Louis Cardinals fan. The only problem with Major League Baseball is it's 162 games, and I'm not home 162 nights out of the year to sit and watch them all. I've been getting more and more into hockey, specifically St. Louis Blues hockey because of again, that's kind of where I'm from. But I'm also a Steelers fan. Again, I don't watch that. Steeler game was on Sunday Night Football. I didn't watch it. It's the one.
You have tiny children.
I do, and often
That's how it goes.
It is. Thank you, and I'm glad you understand that. The one that I can get away with for 12 Friday night, Saturdays, whatever out of the year is Nebraska football. That's the one. That's the time I can sit down and, my oldest, he'll sit there and he'll say "Go Big Red," so I feel like I'm doing something right with him. So I don't. It's rough. It's like Husker football is one, and then somewhere down here's 2. So I'd probably right now say probably Blues hockey. So Matt says Nebraska volleyball. Terrible said phone booth boxing. I'm not entirely sure. That sounds interesting. And then back in the predictions, James says TCU 38, Georgia 35, chaos reigns. And James says TCU has a great offensive line. Georgia, great defensive line, will be a good game for 2.5 quarters. I could see that. Tony, Colin, hold on. Colin says, my next favorite sport is Japanese women's midget mud wrestling.
Okay.
Very specific. And then Tony says, do you think the SEC will go to 9 conference games when Texas and Oklahoma join and their new contract starts? No. I don't think the SEC will ever do anything that will make it more difficult for them to advance in the playoffs. That's why a few years ago, I don't remember who exactly it was in 2022, but not terribly long ago, like Alabama, reigning national champion Alabama, was playing Mercer or Citadel.
Right.
That's what it was, back-to-back years, the week before the Iron Bowl. So no, they're going to, they'll have one strong non-conference opponent at the beginning, so on neutral field. You'll never see Alabama or Georgia go up and play at Camp Randall. You'll never go see him play at the Big House. You'll probably never go see him play out in Pasadena in a non-conference game against UCLA or something like that. It's just not. They're going to stay in their little box, their little conference approved safety net, and they're going to continue to beat Vanderbilt and call it a big win, and play a couple cupcakes. No, so they're not going to do anything that's going to make their road to the championship more difficult.
Is this a real sport?
Yeah, I just saw the explanation, which was essentially a sport where two guys get in a phone booth and beat the snot out of each other.
That can't be a real thing.
Why not?
I did on TV and watched people race belt sanders. So, I don't think there's. Oh my God, we've probably quit because we're both getting too tired to understand what reality is.
Don Dre says, I'd like to see St. Louis get pro football again. This is where I get to say it's coming back in 60 short days or something like that. The St. Louis Battlehawks of the XFL.
That's right.
They're back. I was at their home opener right before the pandemic. I took my oldest boy. Of course, at the time, he was my only boy. But we went. Let me just say this. All you other XFL fans better watch out because the caw is the law.
Oh, my God.
All right, that's it. We got to go. All right, everybody, thanks so much for making this a terrific hour and 20-minute plus episode of the Five Heart Podcast. I saw it in the comments, but if you're on YouTube, throw a thumbs up and help the algorithm. It's all about the algorithm, is it not?
Yeah.
If you're anywhere else in the world, in the inner space, just tell your friends. Tell your friends about what we do here at the Five Heart Podcast, especially if they're Husker fans. And hell, at this point, we're in the off season. I don't care if they're not Husker fans. Bring the Iowa fans this way, and we'll make fun of them too. So I think you've got a Michigan fan that watches pretty regularly on Monday nights, John M. Grabowski. So
yeah.
we can be nice when we want to be nice. It's just if you're an Iowa fan, we're probably not going to be nice. So for our founder and fearless leader, Mr. John Dam Debonair Johnston, I'm Greg Mahochko. This is the Five Heart Podcast, where we remind you each and every week that Five Heart is all the heart you need. John?
Go Big Red.
Damn right. Thanks for joining us, everybody.